Once I did that, controlling my weight and managing my weight came super easy.
Like I couldn't even remember one day I just couldn't even get out of bed and tie my shoe. And I was like, okay, so like what are we doing here? I need to reevaluate the way that I am exercising.
And that is showing up, making the small decisions to enhance your own acceptance of yourself and feeling good about yourself.
As we age, paying attention to micronutrients, all of these things matters. Hey, Carl, thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me, Amber.
Yeah, I am super excited to dive right in. I have been a fan of the work that you guys are doing at BODi for a long time. And so I'm really excited to share with the listeners just all of the exciting things that have been going on. We dive into that. You are just a walking wealth of knowledge when it comes to health and wellness. I mean, it's really, I would go out on a limb. Would you say it's been kind of your life's work and really what you've poured yourself into? I mean, as far as the health and wellness piece of it?
That's a really interesting question. You probably don't expect that to be a really interesting question, but it is, because I don't see it that way at all. I mean, I suppose the work I have done, body of work, so to speak, has been health and fitness related. So that's certainly been the bulk of my career, certainly the last 26, 27 years. But I don't think it's because of an expertise necessarily, but it's an approach to the motivation to get people, to help people be more consistent and to just simplify the whole thing. So where I would say my observation has been that innovation in fitness and nutrition tends to be complicated or incomplete. My approach, or our approach as a company, has been to simplify the approach, but make it comprehensive so that you're not just making one change, which might put you out of balance. You're actually doing an approach to health, fitness, mindset, stress reduction, and supplementation. So it's been really motivation is where I think our expertise has been and what I think I've brought to the table.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, when I was looking through some of the show notes, I had to remember that you guys were behind like the P90X movement and insanity and all of that. And my mom and I were doing in-home videos with that stuff before I even knew. I mean, and you talk about inspiration and motivation and all of that. I mean, good God, insanity was like, you guys were so ahead, I think, of everybody else and what you were doing in that realm of wanting to motivate and make it simple and accessible for people, even just to be able to access that stuff from your living room, which was
P90X is a good example, particularly I think for your audience, because my co-founder, John Congdon, and I were about to turn 40. And we realized neither of us had really ever gone all in with a program with some real intensity. So we asked Tony Horton, who had created a program called Power 90, to create something that would finally, we called it the last hurrah as we were turning 40. And we wanted to get abs. We wanted to shape everything and really feel like, not be bodybuilders, but just ripped, I guess, is what we were going for. So we put this 90-day program together that was completely unforgiving. Like the outcome in 90 days needed to be this. And it was just like subtlety was not going to do it for us. So we just really went for it. And, you know, at 40 years old, 41 years old, I couldn't recognize myself, and really taught me the value of goal setting and consistency to really get an outcome that was unprecedented for me in my life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about then I've got some rapid fire questions here. Just love to always ask. It's just even drawing on your own expertise. Obviously, just even from your last story, I mean, you walk the walk. I mean, you're living it, you know, even on your social media, I can see, I mean, you are living this wellness life. And so what are your top 3 habits for staying strong and energetic in midlife that you'd like to share with the listeners?
So 3. I would say these are recent changes that I've made since I turned 60. I realized that my narrative used to be that I'm not a fitness and nutrition person, which is true. You know, I'm not naturally motivated. I don't love going to the gym. But when I visited my parents, who were in their 80s and 90s at assisted living places that they live, I'm like, ooh, I see where this can end up. You know, everybody's got these walkers and canes and is afraid of cracks in the sidewalk. And I realized that if I want to have a different outcome than that, I can no longer have this narrative in my mind where fitness from the inside, nutrition, and consistency with a well-rounded approach to fitness could no longer be purely about vanity. It had to be about mobility, agility, strength, muscle mass to support a metabolism, to support bone density, to support my overall well-being. And so I couldn't like blow off flexibility and mobility and agility training anymore. So my three things or hacks that I use every day. First, I do a cold plunge for 3.5 minutes every morning.
Same. It's a game
And
changer, isn't it?
it's
Isn't it like
unbelievable.
it's unbelievable? I had the founders of Plunge on the show recently and we were talking all about it. People don't understand it's addictive. It's a game changer. But yeah, keep going. I'm just like, yes, I love that one.
You know, I've got nothing to gain by mentioning that here. We don't sell the things, but it really does establish the day and is that sort of first wake up thing. And like, I'm taking care of myself. I'm seeking discomfort so that discomfort doesn't seek me. Okay. Then the next change that I made was in my morning routine, I stopped forcing myself to have breakfast. Now, I'm not necessarily an intermittent fasting person, but I was trying to jam in breakfast every day. And then a few hours later, I would have this shake. We sell this shake. It's called Shakeology. And I realized that I was getting 400 calories in that I probably didn't need based on the way I was normally eating in the day. So I just have the shake. And now I jam two massive handfuls of baby spinach in there. I put a banana in there, some coconut oil. So it has become my breakfast. But, you know, I'll sip it throughout the morning. Once I did that, controlling my weight and managing my weight became super easy. I just realized that this extra 3, 4, 500 calories that I was having first thing in the morning was sort of a force. And I just didn't need it. I'm not hungry till lunch. So that change was a big deal. And like I said, the other one was treating fitness as an important component. Obviously, the vanity stuff still matters to me, but literally the image of these people walking around these assisted care facilities and not wanting that to be the way I experienced my last 10, 20 years literally gets me out of bed, gets my sneakers on, like I'm working out because I want to stay mobile and agile. And literally, I want to look at the next 20 years as the best years of my life, not as a steady state of decay, you know?
Yeah. Well, I had a friend say to me once, he's like, listen, at this age, I'm interested in go muscles, not show muscles. And I thought, you know what? Like, yes, of course, we're all, I think the vanity, like you said, we all want to look good and feel good in our clothes and all of that. But I also had a very similar come to Jesus with myself about that just earlier in the year where because I was constantly getting injured and some of the ways that I was exercising and like a lot of the traditional strength training moves that I had always done and lifting super heavy and heavy squats and doing all that. I mean, it was taking me out to where I couldn't even like, and I was going to the chiropractor and stretching, doing all the things, but it was still like, I couldn't even remember one day I just couldn't even get out of bed and tie my shoe. And I was like, okay, so like, what are we doing here? Like, I need to reevaluate the way that I am exercising and what's really like, look at the big picture here. And I think that that's such a smart reframe of like, okay, the big picture is like, yeah, I'm looking for longevity. I'm looking to not break a hip when I'm, 70 years old and that will take me out. Like, and what's the program that's going to get me there? So yes, it's a lot of walking and still strength training for sure, but yoga and Pilates and all of that for me, who's always been a really heavy hit trainer, who's always been a really like training for half marathons, doing all these things. For me, I'm like, that is just doesn't fit into the big picture for me anymore at 45.
Well, Amber, you hit the nail on the head. And I will say, we just launched a program that, based on what you said, you almost described it. Autumn Calabrese, I don't know, she's one of our, what we call our super trainers. She developed 21-day fix, 80-day obsession, the portion fix container program, 4-week gut protocol for gut health. But she was silently suffering for roughly 2 years. And she didn't understand why the weight wasn't coming off and why hair was falling out and hot flashes and all this stuff. And her doctors were saying things like, well, that's just the time of life that you're in. And she's fierce and she sort of refused to accept that and started to look at, and in fact, got all this battery of tests and realized that it was her hormones, but not perimenopause, menopause hormones. We're talking insulin and cortisol issues that were coming from the way she was dealing with stress, the way she was working out, and the way certain nuance to how she was eating. And all of those things were contributing to her stress. So she developed a program for us called BellVitale. It's crazy and unprecedented because it does exactly what you're saying. It does provide guidance in terms of the show muscles or the overall look, but the overall program is done in a way that unlocks what might have been frustrating for people in terms of comprehensive approach to nutrition, stress reduction, and a really breakthrough approach to fitness that includes these workouts, these Pilates workouts that you would think you'd have to do on a $10,000 Cadillac at a Pilates gym, but she rigged it up on this thing we call the door track. And people are literally like doing these Pilates moves that are just so fantastic and creating agility and flexibility and deep core strength that are particularly important for people who are dealing with the effects of hormone imbalances, or particularly people who are shifting from I just got to be skinny and hot to I want to be healthy and happy for decades. And that program is a perfect example of what putting it all together can do for people who are looking for that wellness outcome in addition to the how I look at outcome.
Yeah, and I love that because yes, I used to coach women over 40 in the fat loss space. And that is, I think, just like a huge mindset shift for a lot of women who, like you said, there's kind of that middle area where you're not quite perimenopausal or menopausal, but you are still having issues hormonally. And it's a lot of because of just lifestyle and the way that we've always trained our bodies and the food that we're eating and the lack of sleep and,
Yeah.
all the things that we deal with. So, what would you say is the single most important thing to focus on for lasting energy as we age?
Well, no, you got to check all three boxes. So I would say you start with your overall fitness because that is the machine that consumes the energy and responds to energy. So you have got to have a machine where your circulation and your muscle is tuned. Again, doesn't have to be hard body to be healthy, but it's got to be tuned to respond. Second thing is the energy comes from nutrients. And we can't just eat for comfort, and we can't just dismiss the effect that sugar and particularly processed foods have on our system. The work our system needs to do to process all this sugar is outrageous. Like I read there's this new trend of what they call dirty soda or something, where it's like adding ice cream and other syrups and things to soda, which is already so high in sugar. And this behavior of reaching for, and you get them at the coffee shop, right? All these things go into what used to just be a cup of coffee, and now they're turning into sort of an ice cream soda. And that is taxing the body. That is adding stress to the body, and that stress the body has to cope with. So that's tapping your energy. And that's the last thing. So, and this is particularly what I have to look at, managing stress. Not just reducing it, but managing it. Paying attention to, are you a shallow breather? Mentally, does your ego immediately respond to comparisons, to outside triggers that you are not in control of your mind or your reactions to your environment? Because that will immediately take your energy into a direction that will tap your energy. Then of course, look, you can biohack any of those things. Breathing apps, nutrients in the form of supplements, your nutrition plan, and then workouts that are designed to build your factory, build your machine so that it's stronger, so that it enhances your energy versus, for instance, there's a time and a place to do a program like Insanity, and there's a time to maybe be kinder to your body and do something like a Belvital. We have a program called BODi Lava, which has no weights. It's sort of a combination of power yoga and primal moves. And like I did that, a 6-week program, and I had outrageous energy from 20 minutes a day, no weights, doing these moves. So you manage your life that way, then you're not getting energy from caffeine. And I think that's going to enhance your ability to sleep, which helps the whole cycle work. That would be my advice.
No, I love that. And you hit upon something that I've preached for years, which is it's not calories for calories, right? You talk about nutrients matter, the amount that your body has to work to process the processed foods and the sugar and all the chemicals and how they are hormone disruptors and all of that. I mean, that's really kind of that law of thermodynamics. Calories in, calories out is, I believe, such an archaic way of approaching health and wellness. And so I love that you highlighted that because I think that that's so freaking true. And as we age, paying attention to micronutrients like fiber, it's not just about protein. Yes, protein's super important, but it's also your quality of carbohydrates. It's how much added sugars are you getting in a day? Yeah, are you getting at least 25, 30 grams of fiber in your diet? Especially as we age, all of these things matter. So I think that's super important. Yeah.
Fiber is like your super friend. We have seen social media trends that are all about the protein. It's just crazy how people try to latch onto one thing and like it's an incredible discovery. But just saying protein, protein, protein doesn't take into account the overall biochemistry that needs carbs, that needs fiber, and needs healthy fats. And all that has to be done in context of balance.
Yeah.
And for sure, you need enough protein. And for sure, you want to limit the amount of added sugars in your life. But it's got to be a balance because that's, these sugars feed the brain energy. And, that's how you stay focused. That's where your overall personality comes from. So if you're not feeding it balanced macros, you're just not going to have the quality of life that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's so many like wellness rules out there. And I think actually you talk about something called the imperfection economy. Is that right? Did I say that statement right? And I was not familiar with the imperfection economy. So I want to dive a little bit into that. But for those who are feeling overwhelmed by that or like wellness rules, what are your top 3 simplifications? Well, let's first start that, I guess. What is the imperfection economy? What does that even mean?
The imperfection economy is an observation that in general, the fitness space and the diet culture, as they call it, is built around convincing people that they're, by comparison, not good enough unless they fit into an ideal. And, and it's not just fitness, by the way. It's beauty companies, the, plastic surgery business. We've all seen people who become addicted to procedures to just, let me just tweak that. And that's the imperfection economy counts on you never feeling good enough about yourself. And the opposite of that is what we call health esteem. And that is showing up, making the small decisions that are designed to enhance your own acceptance of yourself and your own feeling good about yourself. It's one of the reasons that we changed the name of the company from Beachbody to BODi. We've always had the mission, help people achieve their goals to lead healthy, fulfilling lives. Like that's what we want to do for tens of millions of people. But the name Beachbody came to mean an ideal, and that was undermining the mission. So we had this acronym, Beachbody On Demand Interactive, BODi. And we said, you know what? Let's call it BODi, because that's really what we're serving. We're serving the overall body of a life, the body, the definition of a good life, your healthy, fulfilling life. So that is supporting people getting out of this treadmill of, I got to lose those last 5 pounds. Oh my God, I had a donut. And self-judgment contributing to just more self-hatred and trying to move people to, oh my God, I did a 30-minute walk. I did breathing for 2 minutes. I managed to had 2 slices of pizza instead of 6 slices of pizza. Just these small little things. I didn't have soda today. These are the little wins. Just dialing it back a little bit that can completely enhance somebody's life. And that is what health esteem is, as opposed to the imperfection economy, which says you'll be acceptable when you lose the 20 pounds. So keep going and then you'll be acceptable. Oh, you lost the 20 pounds? Well, you'll be acceptable when I can actually see your abs. Okay, get working on that. Oh, that's good. No, you got the abs? Good. You'll be acceptable when your butt is higher and firmer. You know what I'm saying? It's like a never-ending thing, and that's what I think turned people off to the industry and what created this sort of counterculture to being like, you know what? I'm good enough. I'm going to rebel against that by completely abstaining from fitness and diet culture, which is the overcorrection. So we tried to bring it back to, all right, let's do the right thing at a reasonable expectation to serve the human being, not to serve the comparison. That's the change from the imperfection economy to this thing we call health esteem.
Do you think a part of that, though, what if we are really going to move, industry leaders such as yourself, if we really are going to move out of this imperfection economy, then it also needs to start with like the marketing that you guys do for your products. So for instance, not every single fitness program showing the most shredded, like obviously like even images of Autumn. I know who Autumn is. She's beautiful. She's got a crazy body, but that's not really kind of the average American. And so where is that fine line of wanting to move away from that imperfection economy, but also wanting to show people what's possible when you do put the time in? So how are you guys striking that balance with your marketing?
That is the razor's edge, because aspirations are motivational. So people saying, Oh, I'd like to achieve that. Like I said, with P90X, I wanted to be shredded for once in my life and to dial it all in. So that was just a goal. Some people have a goal of running a marathon. I've been watching a guy online who runs these 240-mile week-long races that are outrageous. I would never do that, but hey, if he can do that, maybe I can run a 5K. So it's that aspirational person that makes me see what's even possible to a lesser extent for myself. However, it's our job, part of our job is to balance that messaging with acceptance and the mental health of loving yourself wherever you are. That needs to be part of our ecosystem. So, for instance, about 2.5 years ago, we added a super trainer to our ensemble of trainers, a woman named Lacey Green. And Lacey's this incredibly positive, dynamic, motivational woman who does not look like what you would call a super trainer. She's probably, I'm going to guess, 6 foot tall, weighs more than me. She's curvy, and she's not afraid to show that she's got a belly and that she's not a hard body, but anybody would feel good having the demeanor of Lacey Green. Like she'll say, fitness should be for everybody and everybody. And so we created a program with her called For Beginners Only, where it's incredibly helpful for people to get started with a program without feeling judged right out of the gate. And that'll work for some people who would never contemplate a P90X. Like they're just like, I can't see that. It's intimidating. I will fail, so I don't want to do it. They know they can succeed at a 3-week program called For Beginners Only. But then there's the other people, Amber, that if they don't feel like they are aspiring to something incredibly great, they're not motivated. So they need the P90X. We had people who had 150 pounds to lose adapting P90X to their physicality because that inspired them. I've got a guy right now, his name is Jonathan Hubb, who's doing a lifting program by Shaun T called Dig Deeper. It's a 12-week program. And Shaun just completely transformed his body from the hip hop abs insanity guy to this ripped, big muscle dude. Jonathan, who's doing it, I think he's around 580 pounds. And when he said he wanted to do the program, I'm like, are you sure? Like, I don't know if that's the right program for you. And he's like, I like to lift. I want to feel like I'm participating with the people that I aspire to look like. So I'm like, okay, great, do it. So he modifies it for himself. Isn't that the way it should work? That's why BODi, the app, has 134 different programs on it. It's not, hey, you should do this. It's, you should do something. Pick the one that feels right for you, and then work your way around the catalog and library and experiment and see what it is and see what makes you feel good. That's health esteem. And that's doing it for you and having fun with it versus suffering through it every day until you get the outcome, which is what we want to get away from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're never going to stick to anything that you're suffering through. I mean, you may do it for a little bit, but I think the whole goal here, and I think this is what you guys preach too, is it's about becoming a lifestyle. Yes, there's definitely these like programs that can kind of jumpstart you, but then it's figuring out a way, how do you implement a lot of this stuff to make a lifestyle? And if you hate it, and you white knuckle it through it, then probably not the program for you because you're probably not going to stick to it or implement any of it when you're done. You're just going to be glad it's over with.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
And
exactly right. Then they go back to all the old habits for all the wrong reasons. Like, ooh, I did that for 90 days. Now I deserve to go off it. And then they end up feeling worse than they did in the first place because they gave back these incredible strides that they made. So that mentality, and like you said, that's where marketing matters. And so we want to inspire people, but we want to celebrate how good they feel in day one, not just how good they feel in day 90. And that's the change.
What are some other ways then to, a lot of women, I feel the women, the show is really geared towards women. And so a lot of women really start to feel discouraged when they get going on a fitness program. And if they're not seeing the scale, as we all know, God, the scale, so many women are tied to the scale. And I know you just mentioned, if we talk about health esteem and you talked about really paying attention to how you feel, feeling good, what are some other, healthy ways to measure progress that isn't tied to numbers that women should be looking at to keep them really going with their goals?
Well, I think the ultimate metric is how you feel. I think that in too many cases, women are just accepting symptoms or issues they don't have to accept. Hot flashes, night sweats, low libido. I don't think those are foregone conclusions. And if you look at the laundry list of what women are told this is just a part of aging as a
Yeah.
woman, and challenging that and saying, let me look into this, let me see what's available, that is a counter argument to that. And that's what we saw when we tested this BellVitale program. We had over 40 women sign up to test this program. They were having a hard time losing weight, dealing with all these issues that for many of them in their 20s and 30s, obviously they were well ahead of perimenopause and menopause. But they were like, what's happening? And, let's face it, Western medicine in general is not looking deeply at biology of how everything fits together. It's sort of give it a pill and treat it.
Yeah.
I don't want to paint too broad. You've got functional medicine out there too. But in general, go to an urgent care or whatever, they're going to walk out with a pill. But as women start to question how their choices, alcohol, sugar, stress management, consistency with fitness, how those might be contributing to how they feel and what they're experiencing, hair loss, like I said, low libido, and so on, then all of a sudden these slight tweaks that you're talking about, reducing sugar, changing their portions of protein, relationship to carbs, fiber, fats, and the way they're working out, being more kind to their body and balanced, all will stack up when it's put together and integrated right to an outcome where it's not just about the scale. The scale will move, which is incredible. And in this case, the test that we did with BellVitale for these 40 women, all of them lost weight. Some of them lost like 5 pounds in the first week, stubborn weight, constipation, whatever. But all of them over 12 weeks lost weight. But that was not the headline. The headline was, the brain fog is gone, and I'm not having hot flashes and night sweats. My marriage has improved because my libido is back. Like these things that were like, nobody ever talks about that correlation to lifestyle choice and these factors, because we're sort of taught that needs to be treated with hormone replacement therapy, which, by the way, can be a very good and a very important thing, but that should complement an approach, a proactive approach to lifestyle that will absolutely enhance your life and hopefully lengthen your life and lengthen your quality of life. That's the metric. The scale will move with it, but the scale should not be the primary metric to look at.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It's interesting. One of the biggest dial movers for me, and just going by the way that I feel, and then losing some weight was a byproduct of it. But I was more interested on how I would feel was several months ago when I cut alcohol out. I just decided that my hormones were a little out of whack. I got on some HRT and I thought, you know what? If I'm going to actually be taking the hormone replacement therapy though, I need to be doing everything in my power to do, holistically and just organically help with my hormones. And alcohol is a huge hormone disruptor. It's a huge sleep disruptor. And it's not necessarily the right choice for everybody to cut alcohol out, but it was the right choice for me. And I can tell you, that has single-handedly been, and out of all the things that I do, that is by far, I have noticed just energetically, sleep wise, just feeling good and mental clarity. I mean, it's crazy how much that shift has made a major impact on my life at 45.
Well, you add to that proactive breathing exercises that can take you 1 minute or 2 minutes a day. You add to that perhaps a walk, a 20-minute walk after dinner. That'll help you digest. You add to that discipline to not stay on the phone till the moment you go to sleep.
Yes.
You add to that an approach to nutrition that is looking at your carb intake and actually starts to manage your overall portions. And you add to that a balanced approach to fitness, and everything changes. Like these little things. And that's what Autumn put together with BellVitale, and we tested, and with doctors overseeing and a pharmacist looking at the supplements or the nutrients that we added to that. And these women, who, by the way, were already thought they were living a pretty healthy lifestyle, were blown away at the 20, 30 pounds that came off, that were stubborn, and that they just thought, I'm 45, looks like I'm going to hold these pounds. It looks like my overall fitness is going to decline this way. And then all of a sudden, wow, when somebody puts it all together with the mindset of how healthy are my hormone levels and how am I navigating that with all these pieces, not just one piece of, that's a real breakthrough for quality of life.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, I want to switch gears just a little bit because aside from helping, women feel better in their skin, another side of my business is helping women become entrepreneurs and really start their either a side hustle or business. My story is got divorced at 40 and I was in corporate America for 18 years. And I kind of looking at my life and kind of a come to Jesus with my life of what do I want the next 40 years to look like? And I started my company. And I know there's a lot of women listening to this show that would love to start their own company, but they feel that they're not capable. They don't have the confidence to take a chance on themselves. And so what insight do you have to share with these women, maybe who are afraid, but do want to step into starting a business, whether using their life experience or their expertise to start something of their own? What insight would you share with them?
That's a big question and tough to cast with a broad paint, but I would say the first question I would ask is afraid of what? You got to drill into that. That's a really important observation that I think people allow fear and the ego attachment to fear to be this subconscious dictator. And they're not ever really questioning, why am I stuck here? Like if you stop and question, why am I stuck? What am I afraid of? And you drill deeper into it, then, well, what if that happens? Okay. So what? Then what if that happens? Well, so what? And you really find out that all that fear, you're sort of imagining this big monster of outcome that ultimately is not devastating. It's learning. And that breaks down the barrier or the obstacle to getting started. And that's certainly the biggest obstacle to women or anybody investigating an entrepreneurial decision. It's never the right time. They always put it off. They let fear sort of just dictate, I got to stay in this job. I got to stay in this marriage. I got to stay in this situation because I don't know what the outcome would be. And I need certainty and I need security, which is really fine. You want people to have certainty and security, but at what cost?
Right.
So I would say find that thing, bring something up alongside of that certainty and security that creates some uncertainty, but potential, some risk that creates some new energy that brings in new inputs that lets you find ways to create value for people that might actually make you some money. I think there's all this untapped value. We even see this in our business. We have a component to our business. It's an affiliate program. Lots of companies have an affiliate program. Sell a beauty product, like people who love a beauty product go to Amazon, they grab links and they sell stuff. Well, we do that for fitness, but we do it different. It's hard to stay motivated and to get started with a fitness program. So we said, what if somebody could monetize that? So every time you do a workout or you fix a healthy meal or you drink a shake and you're reinforcing to your audience on social media why you're doing it and what problems it's helping you overcome. Like I used to struggle with consistency, but then I started to do a program called BellVitale, and it's a 12-week program and laid out day by day. And so now I'm doing it. And she posts a link and she can make, I think BellVitale is like $120 every time one of those sells. There's an opportunity for somebody to enhance their lifestyle and their lifestyle choices and that consistency with this side hustle of inspiring other people to lose weight and get in shape. Now, to your question, a lot of people might go, well, I'm not a health and fitness expert, so I can't post your affiliate links until I get the outcome, until I know. And I think that's 100% wrong. The point is, what people want to see from Amber Shaw and Carl Daikeler is that we are real humans that struggle, but then how do we get over that struggle? And when people see us navigating over those obstacles, they're like, oh, that helped her. That helped him. Let me do that too. And when we do that, when we have that courage to share, we deserve to get paid for that. Everybody in your audience who overcomes obstacles to get healthy and fit and inspires other people to do the same, they deserve to get paid. And when they get paid for it through our affiliate program, it helps motivate them to stay consistent because they just got paid for it. You see how that loop happens? That's a way to start a little mini business and then it can expand. People start to create subscription groups where they've got hundreds of women who are all supporting each other and staying accountable. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. And I think you highlighted something though that I think just even transcends beyond just the health and fitness space. I mean, you basically are saying, I think the takeaway here is that we all have experiences and obstacles that we can overcome and things maybe that we've done done in our life or things that we're working on right now. In fact, I have a lot of women that I work with who are divorced, who are wanting to help other women in the divorce space. And they say to me, hey, do you think that even though I'm not to the other side of divorce, I'm still kind of navigating it in real time? Am I qualified to coach other women? And I'm like, hell yes, you're qualified because you're doing it. You're in the middle of it. You're sharing with people, what works, what doesn't work. There's tremendous power, I think, and inspiration behind that. So I think it's really valuable what you said is that really, I think, is true in all areas of our life. And I do think that this is why I'm so passionate about helping women create their own businesses, because I do think that you should get paid for your knowledge and your expertise, inspiring others. And we all have that in us to do it. You just need a plan, you just need a strategy, and usually a guide to help you get there. But we all have that in us. So I think you touched upon something even bigger than health and fitness. And so, yes, you answered it beautifully.
All right, good.
Perfect. Well, last question I have for you then, because you did mention the affiliate marketing. And I know, BODi has been around for a long time. You said 26 years. And there's been some big news, and especially in the health and wellness space, about the company and letting the network marketing side of the company go. So is that different than the affiliate marketing side of it? Or is that the same thing? Are you letting that piece of it go? Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, that's the transition from the multi-level model to an affiliate model where, so our observation was that, network marketing has stigma attached to it. They call it multi-level marketing. And that when you talk to somebody about a network of what we would call partners or distributors, you would always get the question, is this one of those pyramid schemes? I mentioned at the beginning, our goal, our mission as a company, help people achieve their goals to lead healthy, fulfilling lives, which means help them get working out and managing their nutrition. That is already a really difficult thing to do. What we found was this business model of multi-level marketing was carrying baggage that made it too hard to achieve the mission because we had to overcome the suspicion or judgment of network marketing to get people to do the hard thing of lifestyle change. So we said, why are we trying to climb these two hills and fight on these two fronts when if I just simplified it, got rid of this complicated compensation structure and moved it to a simplified thing that somebody doesn't need to look at this as, oh, I'm going to build a big team and I'm going to motivate all these people. And yeah, not everybody's going to make money, but the people who work it hard enough will make the money. Like, not have to create all that to just be, I'm going to do my workouts. I'm going to share it with some people. I'm going to give them a link if they're inspired by that. And I'm going to make 100% of the commissions that result from that rather than have to share upline and downline the way network marketing does. So again, network marketing can be a fine business model for people to introduce new products and build teams and celebrate being an entrepreneur. But I would say for our purposes as a company, after 17 years, it had run its course. It had too much wasted energy, meaning people trying to build these teams and not enough people on the team were seeing success, that it was a productive part of the business. So we just said, hey, look, we still want to use this really important celebration of the success that people have with our programs and reward the people that will share that. We just want to do it in a more simplified way. That was a painful transition for people who had built over the course of 17 years and decade. People had built teams and had significant income streams coming from that. But ultimately, we had to make the tough choice because, again, my objective as a company is not to build the greatest network marketing business. It is to help tens of millions of people achieve their goals, lead healthy, fulfilling lives. So I needed to find a way to do that was as efficient as possible. And that's what affiliate marketing does. And that's why we already have tens of thousands of affiliates who are doing this, and they're just doing it as a little side hustle. They're making $500 a month. Some are making $500 a week. And meanwhile, they're building their audience. People are following it on Instagram and TikTok, and they're like, I can't believe you did that. You're so consistent. And then they don't have to sort of sidestep this, wait a minute, is that one of those pyramids? They don't have to even get into that conversation. And now we're just focused on helping people lead a healthier lifestyle. And that's what our job is in the world.
It is interesting. And obviously, being in this space, I see it too. There is definitely a stigma associated with network marketing. And so I love, though, that your commitment to the mission of BODi was not about the dollars. It's about the mission. And that is, I think, very powerful. So last question for you is, what are your hopes for the future of BODi, and how will it continue to provide solutions, particularly for business busy women who want to achieve lasting health.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record, but it's really about scale. We have to constantly fight the inclination to innovate through complexity and instead fight to keep things as simple as possible for people so that they can wake up, they get into these behaviors that turn healthy choices into their normal rather than a project that is special. That eating healthy is not the outlier, that working out consistently is not the outlier, but that is normal behavior. That'll generate critical mass. And the more people that is their normal for, the more the people who are still struggling will find that I can do this because all these other people are doing this. And as we generate millions and then more millions and scale this geographically around the globe, hopefully we will help change people's perception of their own ability to achieve health and wellness. That's the goal. So keep it simple and keep expanding and scale it and manage the expense at the same time that we have respect for what it costs to take care of yourself versus just buy more stuff. That's what our job is as a company, is constantly look for ways to improve, but also fight complexity.
Love that. Well, Carl, thank you so much for being here today. Anything else that you just want to share with the listeners? Maybe anything you guys have coming up that they should keep an eye out for, or just anything you want to share before we roll off?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this stuff. I always learn when I talk to people like you and really appreciate what you bring to the world. And I think your audience is lucky to have somebody like you. I do think that the BellVitale program could be a really important decision for many people in your audience who are scratching their head wondering, why do I feel this way? And there was a woman named Autumn Calabrese who was suffering and was supposed to be the picture of health, and decided to do a deep dive into understanding what factors were contributing to her misery, her silent suffering. She fixed it for herself, then fixed it for the next 40 or 50 women, and now she's doing it for thousands of people, and I think your audience could benefit by looking up BellVitale.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for just sharing your insights and your expertise. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Amber.
Thanks, Carl.